All right. As far as injury updates, so Duke Shelley yesterday in practice hurt his ankle a little bit, so he'll be questionable on Sunday. And then Bilal Nichols his knee was bothering him on Thursday, so we held him out, so he'll be questionable for Sunday. As far as Damian and Robert Quinn, they both remain on the reserve COVID, so there's no change there. And then we're going to be placing Jimmy Graham on the reserve COVID today. So any other roster moves that we have between now and Sunday, we'll make sure that we update. But that's where we're at right now. So we just finished up our red zone day, and now we get going and get ready to take off tomorrow.
With Damian and Robert, is the flight tomorrow, does that change a little bit of a deadline for them on getting clearance?
Yeah, again, just with them, for us, there's no change. I mean, they're on that COVID list, and there's a protocol that they have for that, and that's just what we face, and that's what we follow.
We were only out for a few minutes, but I didn't see Danny Trevathan out there.
He had a personal. He was personally excused.
Sean Gibson, that was also a practice injury this week.
What's that?
Sean Gibson, was that a practice injury this week?
Yeah, his was not a practice injury. No, his has just been, I think a little bit in the game and just in time. So his was not practice this week.
Matt, Khalil obviously was great last week at running back, but you didn't have the 1-2 punch that you had the 2 weeks earlier. With both Montgomery and Williams, and then Herbert Williams. In order to make up for that missing offense, can you get more out of the running game? Can you ask more of Khalil, or do you have to ask more of Justin?
No, I think Khalil can definitely handle that. I really feel like he's in a good place. Even he just out here about half an hour ago, he did a good little deal with checking on, over communicating with the line and Justin on a protection check that you don't see a lot of rookies do. Sometimes they just stay in their spot and let the error happen. But he stepped up and wanted to find out what the call was. So little things like that. He's really mature for his age, and he's going to be able to handle things. And it's just for him, it's impressive, and I like that.
Matt, are Williams and Quinn going to travel tomorrow with you?
Again, they're on the COVID update, or they're on the COVID list.
Will you travel with a player who's in the process of potentially being cleared to return, or would that player have to travel separately?
Can they travel separately? I don't. That whole deal with the protocol of COVID is I know there's protocol that they have and rules that they can and can't do, and I know we're handling that as however we need to handle that with the COVID.
You said Graham is on the COVID?
He is.
Well,
Yes.
I know we asked you about this the other day, but are you concerned about this being an outbreak? I mean, it seems like a lot of different
Right.
a lot of random events at the same time.
No, I'm not, and I just say, I think the one thing that we all need to keep in mind, and we know this, we knew it heading into this, the change is that there's vaccinations, but really for us, the mindset heading into this year was knowing that there's still, you still have, hey, you need to wear your mask. You need to be able to follow the protocol that they have. And at the same point in time, for us as coaches, we got to have our contingency plan. So, for us, just if you know that on the front end, then you prepare for it. But this is not just a Chicago Bears deal right now that's going on. This is really a worldwide thing. So I think that as long as we all understand that and know that, continue to do everything that we can to make sure that we're following what they tell us to do. And then, when times like this come up with some people, then you got to be able to handle it the right way.
You mentioned the vaccinations. Last year, 3 players ending up on the COVID list might have been like a massive shutdown. Game might have been in danger on Sunday. Has this been easier to navigate this year?
Yeah, because I think, we all kind of knew going into it on the front end, really, if you're vaccinated or if you're not vaccinated, how that goes. And plus going through that first year of every day waking up and, trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen today with practice, or how's this going to work? I think there was a lot of unknown. I feel like there's more known now. And so for us, it's just a matter of now it's like making sure that we're doing everything that we can to emphasize the mass, to emphasize taking care of yourself, to emphasize, who you're around and who you're not around, all that kind of stuff, so that you limit those chances and those risks. And sometimes, as you go through this, you don't know where, when, or how, but that's a part of it.
Matt, with the production of the passing game so significantly diminished,
Mhm.
how do you manage sort of the human nature antsiness of the receivers and the tight ends who are obviously not putting up the numbers that they might want and may start to feel a little bit of that urgency?
Probably the biggest thing is if we just keep in mind that we want to win and we don't worry about numbers, we don't worry about the stats, we don't worry about it. If we just start there, whatever it takes to win, however we do it, I feel like we've done that in the fact of, a couple weeks ago resetting and saying, okay, how do we do this? And then we won a couple in a row. And last week, we put ourselves in a position in the fourth quarter, but we still didn't do enough in our standards. We know that. So you got to match it up with the protection. When you talk about shots, you got to match it up with coverages that they give you. You got to match it up when plays are to be made. You think about Darnell had that deep ball with Justin against Detroit, and it kind of sparked it. You felt the spark. You kind of felt the energy. Those are big plays, and sometimes it's on a scramble. Sometimes it's on a broken play. Right now, it is a long season, and right now the explosives were obviously low on them. So we know that. We care about that. And we got to figure out, okay, how do we get those explosives back so that we can help score more points, have more yards, and we're emphasizing that as much as we can. But at the same point in time, I think what I appreciate about our players is they want to help and they care about how they do it. But in the end, we all just want to win. And so if you're not winning and you're not having the numbers, that's where those causes for concern come up.
Kind of going off that, like when you make the changes from Andy to Justin, like how much changes or has changed with the benefit of hindsight now, like in the few weeks going into this, how much has changed in terms of meetings, practice, when you go from the veteran to the young guy?
Nothing as far as meetings and practice. That all stays the same. I think if you go back and you look at rookie quarterbacks in this league that have started for the first time and have gone through what they need to go through to get to the point where you ultimately want to get them to, there's several examples of lower attempts in completions as they go. Just because I think that's human nature is you want to be able to, they haven't seen as much. So how do you get them to that point? And for us, within the game and how we scheme and what we do, we try to tailor it more towards Justin's strengths. And again, as we talked about with Cleveland, we learned as coaches, like, how do we help him and not hurt him? And so we're navigating through all of that. At the same point in time, are we seeing growth from him in practice, in meetings, in the games? And that's where the instances that we had last week, some of those plays that we talked about, he is growing. There is that there. And he's learning situational stuff. So for us, now we want to keep growing, whether that's a concept, whether that's something that we do that maybe he didn't do in Cleveland that first game, and maybe we can grow him a little bit there. But I do think there's a little bit of patience involved with that, and that's only natural. But he is certainly getting better, and you see it at practice.
Then how about your messaging, I guess, with the veteran guys who had practiced with Andy for so long? Do you change expectations a bit because you're going to this young guy?
No, I mean, we all understand. I mean, when you're in this situation, Justin is doing everything that we're asking him to do. And ultimately, in the end, we want to do everything we can to win, whatever that is and however we do it. But the guys have been great. The players have been great. And again, just continuing to work on the timing and the concepts, and Justin's feeling better in the things that we're doing.
Is there a mindset at all from offense and defense that you have to take more chances in order to beat a team like that?
I think it depends on how you feel the game is going once the game has started. You got to, it's easy to say big mindset. Yeah, this is the number one explosive team in the NFL. They got one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the history of the game. They got a defense that's playing really well, and they're well coached, all that stuff. And so that when you have opportunities to strike, you got to strike, and however that is. But once you get in the game, there's a feel to it. And then depending on how the game goes, probably helps dictate some of that.
With their defense, obviously, the front seven is stacked, but Vea specifically, how do you describe what he means to everything they do?
He's a huge part of that defense. Dan, you watch tape and you just see him. Teams might max protect, and he's still blowing up the middle or blowing up a double team. He's playing at a rare level right now. He's just powerful, strong, punishes the interior side, the A and B gaps. So when a quarterback drops back, there's some of the things that they got to do are step up in the pocket, and when he dents that, that's hard. So he's been playing great, and then you match that up with those guys on the edge, and you got linebackers that can fly around. I'm sure Coach Bowles is having some fun with that.
Bill Lazor said, or at least seemed to indicate, that since he's been in the role of play caller, that there is a comfort level, and the more you do it. I'm curious about your vantage point of that thing. How much, even though it's not showing up in points, how much improvement or how much more comfort is there in the whole game day operation?
Yeah.
As far as calling plays, just the way, however it works.
Yeah.
As far as getting from point A to point B.
I think Mark, I think it's really gone well. I think we're getting better every day. I know I feel really comfortable now going through that and feeling out how the process goes throughout the week too. Like we're going to get together here in a little bit and just go through the game plan together and talk things out. And that's fun because we kind of learn how that goes and where we want to put things. But then the game day specifics for me has been great because I've been able to connect I've been able to really be a part of the headset communication, what goes on, listening and stuff. And it's situationally, I feel more connected, and at the same time, I give Bill a ton of credit because I do think like the more and more that he does this with a rookie quarterback, with Justin and with this offense, we'll only continue to get more and more comfortable, and then I can be there to help Bill in whatever that is, and the other coaches that are doing it together. So if you look back to when we first did this to where we're at now, I'd say for sure every week we feel better.
How about the cohesion, especially from your vantage point? Are you just more comfortable with this than you were last year? When you did
Yeah,
Is this an easier thing for you to?
Yeah, I think right now with where we're at, and for me, it just feels good. I like where I'm at, and I feel like right now that whatever it is, just for some reason, the game day part of me being connected to the offense, defense, and special teams, and then in between series is just good. I like it.
Matt, following up on the game day operations, we talk occasionally about in-game adjustments, and sometimes whether it's the start of the second half or even possession to possession, you can see them. Is there a specific plan, an attack for game day, for in-game adjustments? Do you have assistants, designated to watch for that and make suggestions, or how does that happen?
Yeah, no, we have some coaches that are up in the box. We have our coaches that are down below, and then they talk through, and they're looking at it. Everything's going like so fast when the defense is up because they're up there talking through the different things that they're seeing, whatever that is specifically. We got guys up there, and then that gets communicated with Coach Lazor, and then usually I click over to the other headset to Sean on defense, and I'm on there with them. And then I'll come back, and if there's a timeout or a break or something, I'll get back on with them, and they'll update me on any adjustments that we're making. But they have a whole process of how they do it, the O-line and tight ends, wideouts, et cetera, any changes we make. And that, again, is, I think I talked about it with y'all last year, is that process of in-between series. When you have that, it really helps, like getting that next series ready. And two, like, with Bill calling plays, he can go ahead and get the next series ready while I'm over there dealing with the defense or helping out, and it's good.
Is that something specifically that, without worrying about calling plays, that you can have more focus on now? The adjustments?
With that, yeah. So I'll get the video and I'll look at it and take a peek at it. But I'm able to be the guy that if there's a decision on something to be made, like, hey, we think we should do this, or this, I'm just basically saying, yeah, that's great. Or no, hey, what do you think about that? And then I'll look at it, I'll check it out, and we go. But usually they have a reason why they're doing it. It's pretty simple. And then the communication that goes on the sideline. The other part of it too is like with Justin, I'm able to connect with him when he's in a timeout or TV timeout. I like to give him his deal and let him be out there with the guys, but then he can come over and walk towards me, and there might be something I throw at him, just to remember, hey, remember that situationally, or a play we're about to run. He may have a question. So I just think I'm seeing the bigger picture, which is good.
Yeah, with Jalen Johnson, what was
Yep.
your conversation?
Yeah.
And what did you tell him?
Yeah, we had a really. I told you I was going to have a good talk with him, and we did. And we did. And I have so much respect for Jalen, and I know that when you, number one, like for him, that went on, and we talked, and sometimes you have those talks and it can really, like, you talk about both sides. You talk about the why a little bit of, like, what happened and, what do we do here with our standards that we have and everything. And so, and he understands that. But at the same point in time too, I told him, this is good that we're sitting here in front of each other right now talking about this, because now we're able to talk about other stuff too, which is always good, is to just talk through where we're at. I mean, he is a great leader for this defense. He's playing his butt off right now. He's a guy that stays after practice every single day and gets extra work. And we had, without getting into a lot of details, honestly, it was an awesome conversation. It was really good, and I appreciated that from him, and I think he did from me too. And it was good to have.
When guys comment on social media, it gives an outside perception that things are bubbling. How do you communicate that to the guys so that they understand that it may just be a spur of the moment thing that they send off, but the outside world thinks that
Yeah.
the house is burning down?
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand, because that's kind of the social media world that we live in right now. Everything gets blown out of proportion. So you got to accept that. That's number one. Like I said, I got 4 boys, so I understand the social media world, and I try to teach them what happens when you hit that button, how that goes, and how people can, it's like, we all have friends that probably text message us, and they never put like a period or an exclamation point or question mark, you can't tell where they're coming from. You might take it a certain way. So, the fact of the matter is that when you do that, I understand that. But at the same point in time, we're able to talk through, okay, like you're saying, how that does affect that, but how we are internally, because I know the relationship and where we're at right now with this team and where I'm at with Jalen, and I think it's a good, valuable learning lesson for everybody.
Can you find a guy for posting stuff on social media?
Can you find a guy?
Yeah. Stuff on social media?
You could. I guess. I don't know.